Hello and welcome to the Glesga podcast. Coming up this week, well, there's that famous experiment with the marshmallows and kids. Have you heard of that? The ones that waited for the 2 marshmallows did better in their exams.
That's always my problem. I'm fucking... I'll eat anything that's put down to me. I mean...
What really made me laugh the other day was when they were speaking about it's Albanians. So all these Albanians are trying to get in contact. And do you know what's...
They might as well blame the humans. I mean, it's bullshit.
See, when I worked for the bank, you did get a special rate.
See, he's one of them. He's complicit.
But before then, we're talking about everything Reform and Nigel Farage.
Reform won a by-election in Runcorn, Cheshire or something, and it was that Mike Amesbury was his name. Now, he's my kind of politician, but he had to resign. He's a Labour politician. And he's out, I mean, I don't know what he was doing out at 11 o'clock at night, but he'd been accosted by a constituent who was pushed out his box and went to have a go at him.
Right.
And he fucking leered him.
He leered or stole his marshmallow.
He fucking... he stole his munchie box, right? And he leered this boy. Now, I don't know. I mean, your average MP, I don't think they go about leering people. But what did that arsehole say to him? Maybe deserve to get a fucking punch in the mouth.
Aye.
See, that's the problem. People are now saying things in general conversation that they repeat things they hear online. Mm. And the reason why people say things online, because they can't get a fucking punch in the mouth. Right? I mean, there's one thing I saw during the week, and somebody said, why is this shite constantly come up on my feed? Well, block us, you fucking moron. Block us. Hey, block us, you arsehole.
That's why I don't look at them. That's why you
it doesn't bother me. Hey, block us. We don't care. We don't need your money. If you don't like us, fuck off. But what I love is they actually make us more money because these arseholes watch us twice as long.
Helps the algorithm.
In fact, the people that love us, thanks. But you're not doing enough. You're not watching enough. It's these fucking morons. They were watching twice as long. They're actually watching 4 or 5 times as long. Aye. And the engagement's massive because these arseholes are commenting.
I know, the more
So don't
comments.
talk about us in the pub to your mates. Comment online. Aye. Comment. And get all your mates. In fact, tag your mates to tell them all how shite we are.
Aye, anyway, Nigel Farage.
Reform and Nigel Farage. We're here in Scotland. That's got nothing to do with us, man. I saw down south. They're doing a Trump. They're doing a Trump down in England. They think, I don't know, that they're going to make England great again.
You think so? You think they'll get in down there, but not up here?
I think they'll get some support up here. You know what I mean? Because you know he's Farage, isn't he? He's the sort of guy you couldn't imagine yourself having a pint with Sir Keir Starmer. No. Maybe a pint of brandy or something, or an Aperol Spritz, and you couldn't really have a pint with Kemi Badenoch, who nobody really knows who she is anyway, and. Who's the Liberal leader? Sir Ed Davey? I don't know. He's always at the water park fanning about doing the slides. But Farage is... You see, it's dead easy when you're in opposition. You can promise the world, but you never need to deliver it.
No.
You know what I mean? You can say, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing the next thing, because people just aren't happy. We've talked about this before. Right. What happens is, people in the world, what they do is, they get a job and then they put their feet under the table and they stop striving and they eat too much and drink too much, become type 2 diabetic, lazy and fucked. And then when they're not very good at living anymore, they blame an immigrant or a poor person or somebody on benefits. And that's what happens. And that's what Nigel Farage has taken advantage of. He's taken advantage of these people who basically they're not happy with their life. Right, all these immigrants are coming in and taking their jobs, and all the benefit scroungers are taking all the money out of the system, and they kind of get seen on the NHS because they're 42 stone overweight. It's everybody's fault except their own, and that's what happens when people don't take responsibility for themselves. They blame somebody else, and Farage is great at harnessing that dissatisfaction, and that's what's going to happen. They go, "We'll vote for you," and he can say what the fuck he likes, but in 4 or 5 years' time, I think genuinely. I think he could very well be the next British Prime Minister.
I don't think Nigel Farage will be the British Prime Minister at all.
Well,
I think we'll go down the route of Australia and Canada, where people will think we're going to go to the right.
I think what will happen is, I think Scotland will go down the road of Australia and Canada and go for a sort of a right-minded liberal democracy. You know, everything for the greater good. But you see, this is a problem. Everybody's in it for their fucking self. All the rich people have been hoarding and hoarding and hoarding the wealth, right? They're making more money than any time in human history, and they're hoarding the wealth. This whole idea of trickle-down economics is idea. All the money goes up and it trickles back down. It fucking is no happening. What they're doing is it's trickling up. They're buying assets and they're using them to enrich themselves further through us. So you used to be able to get a council house, right? A housing association house. They used to be available. You used to be able to maybe, you know, pay your rent, but there's no council houses. They were all sold off. And all the council houses, you know, your ma or your dad or somebody might owned one and left it to you. And then you had your own house, so you've sold that. And they're now all in the hands of private landlords. It's created the housing crisis we've got in this country today. And the person to blame is the government, because that was government policy. And successive governments never took it away. In Scotland, we took it away. We outlawed it, because that's fucking social housing. And it means that the housing stock, social housing stock is diminishing. And people, normal people, have to pay. I mean, what's rent now for an average 2-bedroom house in a semi-shite area? 600, 700 a month?
Minimum,
a flat? But that's fucking insane. And the wages, for most people, the wages haven't been going up. They've been, well, we've got the national living wage and the minimum wage has been good. In this country, that's at least mitigated some of the effects. But Farage comes along and says, you find it difficult? Aye, well, I'll change it for you. Because what's happened is all these immigrants coming in and taking our resources and all that. No, it's rich arseholes like you that've been robbing everybody fucking blind for fucking years. Rich bastards like you, privately educated cunts like you, has been fucking ripping everybody off for decades and hoarding the wealth, right, and buying up all the assets so nobody else can get a fucking sniff at it. That's where the problem is.
And I think what really made me laugh the other day was when they were speaking about it's Albanians. So all these Albanians are trying to get in. And do you know what's...
They might as well blame the Moomins. I mean, it's bullshit.
Well, do you know, see in Albania, right, Albania's growth rate is 3.4% GDP. Ours is 0.3. They're flying.
Well,
Albania is flying.
I've got a funny feeling that Albania was they're going for a pretty low start. I mean, you see, what's interesting about Albania, I remember I seen this programme about Albania and they have these blood feuds. Have you ever heard about this?
No.
These Albanian blood feuds. It was either a programme on the telly or maybe it's something on the radio, is that I don't know, it's some old thing like a Sicilian thing, you know, the mafia thing that somebody fucks a guy early and then his son grows up and fucking does him in. And it's all like that. It's maybe in the psychology or the culture or something. And that's led to a lot of migration out of Albania. But they're not... You know, Albanians, like anybody else, they're going into Greece, they're going into, maybe they're going to Turkey, or they're going to Italy, or they're going up to Slovenia. And so there's, you know, it was a communist country, and it was a really poor communist country. And it was very closed off. I remember Celtic played Partizan of Tirana a way back, 1979, 1980. And the game wasn't even allowed to be televised because King Zog, or whatever the fuck, Albania, whoever the boss was, when you're not coming in here. Right, and Celtic went to play there. And I remember I think Celtic beat 1-0, but then 1-4-1 at Celtic Park in the return. But I think, I remember seeing footage of the actual game, and it was somebody fucking filmed it on one of these old fucking cine cameras. You know what I mean? Like a Laurel and Hardy movie. So I mean, Albania was a really poor country, really underdeveloped, never had any inward investment ever. And really, when you think about where it is in the Adriatic, you know, it's nice climate. I mean, millions of people go to Croatia for their holidays. They go to Greece for the holidays. Why are they not going to fucking Albania? So I don't know much about Albania, but I know they're obviously trying to repair themselves after years of being a communist dictatorship, part of the Soviet bloc.
They're one of the fastest growing economies, Albania, but they've still got the biggest gap between the rich and the poor, but so have we.
It's the same, and probably one guy's got all the fucking money and everybody else got nothing. It's the same here. What is it? You remember the 784 Theatre Company was a famous Scottish theatre company. Do you know what the 784 stood for?
No.
7% of the population own 84% of the wealth. That's what it meant. Now, I think that's now got even wider, that gap. I think I would like to check that now. I mean, I'm going back now 30, 40 years when the 784 were going about. But 7% of the population own 84% of the wealth. That means 93% of the population are all sharing the other 16%. That's the reality there.
It must be the first time, I would say the first time in the last 12 to 18 months that you've obviously got your mortgage or your rent. And I would say for the first time ever, all your bills are actually sometimes just as much or even more.
Well,
and that never used to be the
but
case.
that was always a thing. That was the whole thing. People say, fuck, I'd love to be able to afford to buy a house, right? Because it was always, when you rented back in my day, right, your rent, whatever it was, you were, £200 a month for your rent, or $250 or something. And to buy a house was like, well, I remember when the mortgage rate went up to 10%, 12%, and then 15%. No, I never had a house then, right? That was in 1987, Black Monday. And people lost their houses. I don't know their mortgage, I don't know how much it was. Their mortgage went from $400 a month to fucking £1,000 a month. And you're lucky if you were bringing home £800 a month away back then, back in the days. Right, I remember I had a mate, he was making £200 a week. And he had his own flat, and it was a lovely flat, and they were doing great, and he could afford it. It was a bit tough at first, but then they pushed these rates up, and it got repossessed. He lost it. I mean, how horrible is that? Now, so the point you were making, and it's very true, right? You used to be your rent was always £200 a month or whatever it was, and then to buy a house, which was about double that, maybe it was, oh, can I afford it? Now you've got, who was I talking to? In fact, I'm getting back now a good 10 year, right? And this is not something that's happened recently. I did a job for somebody out in Ibrox, and I think a producer might know the boy. And he lives in a tower block which overlooks Ibrox Stadium. And he's a friend of the wee man, right? And we done a thing in his house. Do you remember your dad sells Avon?
Aye,
right?
aye.
I shot that in this guy's house.
Aye.
And it's kind of amazing, in a tower block. And I went, what's that lovely flat, nice view, that. And I went, what do you pay for this? And I was fucking staggered, right? He went, £720 a month. I went, what? And this was 10 years ago. When I think at the time, my mortgage payment was it was £595 a month. Right, and I've always been up my eyeballs in debt. Right. I found that staggering. I found that unbelievable. The rent now is not only on a par with a mortgage payment, but it's above it. But the interesting thing is, you had the world financial crisis back in 2007, 2008. What's interesting is that mortgage rates, the interest rates went to 0.1%, and they stayed like that for years, up until even into the pandemic and after the pandemic. And they've only started to go up in the last couple of years, which has massively increased mortgage payments, right? And, we talked about this. So, and by the way, they're not coming back down to 2% or 1.5%. They're not coming back down. They might get down to 3.5%, 3%, but they're not going much lower than that, right? But know what the greedy bastards were doing, the banks. So when the mortgage rate is 0.1%, here's some economic education people, and he'll verify this because he's got a degree in economics as well. As well as who?
As well as doing it in the bank.
Aye, as well as who? Keir Starmer, your ball bag, right? Now, so when the interest rate is 0.1%, what that means is, that used to be called the minimum lending rate. It's called the bank rate, the interest rate. It means that a bank can go to the Bank of England and say, give me £10 billion and I'll give you it back at 0.1% interest. That's what that means. Now, you can't go to the Bank of England. I can't go to the Bank of England. You go, hello, Mervyn King, whatever your fucking name is. Who's the Bank of England guy? I can't mind. Mervyn King was fucking years ago. Right. It's not even Mark Carney. He's Canadian president, Prime Minister. So we can't go there. We have to go to the bank, who gets money for fuck all and then lends it to us at ridiculous rates. So I had to borrow 10 grand because I was fucked. Right, you know, one of my divorces, you know what it's like. I had to borrow 10 grand and the bastards, as if they psychically knew I was fucked. Or maybe one of my exes who phoned up and grassed me up. They went, I said, give me 10 grand. Do you know, I could have refused it, but I don't know, I'd never way to get the money. They put that out at 13%.
What?
Aye. 13% interest rate on a 5-year bank loan. These greedy bastards. They're getting the 10 grand out the Bank of England for 0.1%. Right?
Wow.
0.1%. That's fucking ridiculous. That means they get 10 grand off the bank and about £10 to pay it back. Is it £10? Aye. 10 quid. £10,000. There's your £10,000 and £10 back. Thank you, Bank of England. Meanwhile, I borrowed 10 grand. I need to give the arseholes, well, it's 13% a year. It ended up at what? I don't know. 13 grand, 14 grand. Yeah. Greedy bastards. Greedy bastards. So this whole idea of the banks have been struggling is pish, by the way. Utter pish. Right. They've been robbing every fucker blind for years.
I could not imagine the interest rate's been 15%, so they were 15%.
It went to 8%, then 10%, then 12%, then 50% over a period of something like 3 days or something, or within a week.
Aye.
I know people who lost their hoosies. There was a fella I knew when I was in the telecoms game. He was at the bank and he went, I can't. The cost of paying the mortgage is more than I actually earn. And the lassie at the bank said, face it, sir, you're going to lose your house. Fuck me. Right? And I had another mate who, what he did, I thought this was cool as fuck. He just went into the bank with his keys and says, here, here's your house, get to fuck. And he just walked away
well,
from
there's
it.
a lot of people apparently done that, just handed their keys in. If you were paying 15%, let us know in the comments.
I mean, it's always the man in the street that suffers. And the thing is, Farage, you know, these arseholes come along and go, it's immigrants, it's people on benefits. It's these fat bastards at the top of the chain, all the arseholes that own the banks and the big pension funds and private equity. They're the fuckers. They're the fuckers that's allowing all this to happen. These arseholes. And if they wanted to, they could fucking fix it. But they make too much money, keeping us all fighting amongst each other. Are you a Catholic? Are you a Protestant? Are you an immigrant? Fuck you. Are you on benefits? Are you a diabetic? It's arseholes.
Aye.
Fucking arseholes. Divide and rule. That's what they do.
What's interesting is see my first flat in 2002, I was £178 a month for my mortgage. And I remember my...
I bet you worked for the bank then?
No, I never. It was before,
did you not get a special rate, you pampered fanny?
When I worked, see, when I worked for the bank, you did get a special rate.
See, he's one of them. He's complicit.
But this was before I worked for the bank. So I was £178 a month for my mortgage in a one-bed cottage in Tillicootree.
A one-bed cottage in Tillicootree? There's something very homoerotic about that.
So the flat, the cottage was 28 grand. which isn't a lot, £178 a month. And I always remember, see my gas and electric, £33 a month I was, which is nothing. No.
And you never even fiddled your meter.
No, I
remember,
never.
remember back in the day, I knew guys who, through their ingenuity, I knew a guy who lived in Carntine who hooked his house up to the street light outside. I don't know how he done it. Maybe he was a sparky, I don't know. But he took the light, for the light out in the street, he had a wire coming in for the street light. But most people of my generation, they got that box with the 2 prongs with it, fucked it in the bottom of the meter and slowed it right down.
Aye. I know somebody that still takes for their next door neighbour. So
say that again.
So I know someone who's wired their electric to the next door neighbour and the neighbour pays it. But
You're joking.
But when the council comes in to check, he always switches it. He switches it back, and he's get away with it for. I think he pays something stupid like a £5 a month or something.
Well, that's his standing charge. He would have to pay that.
Aye, but he's managed it for.
And
years.
who is this person? Do I know this person?
You've never met him, no.
Yeah.
No, you've never
Fucking
met him.
sneaky bastard. He's no my next door neighbour, is he?
No.
Sneaky bastard.
No.
If you live next door to somebody that knows him, if you ever see him coming to your next door neighbour's house, you go, my light bills are fucking shocking.
Do you know I went for I went for a cottage in Tillicutry, paying £178 a month when I moved to London, right? See a studio flat in London, literally.
Yeah, that thing where you had to sleep in the oven.
Aye, so I had to pull the door down. So I had to basically, it's a nightmare. I had to pull the oven door down to set my mattress on it.
Yeah.
And it was £810 a month. £810 a month. It was in Buckingham Palace Road.
Living next door to the Queen.
Well, aye, but it was tiny. I could walk to work and stuff like that, and that's why I had to have 2 jobs and all that to survive.
No, it's a hard life. It is shocking. £860 for a cupboard. And what year was that? That was
2002.
2002. Unbelievable.
But getting back to reform, that's where when people are in dire straits, they'll go to anything that think is going to change it for them.
I know. But here's the thing, right? People, it's just a human thing, right? It's not anybody's fault. You prefer the comfort and lie than the harsh truth. The comfort and lie is easier. We can do this, we can do that. They're promising the world. And people are desperate. Desperate. They're living paycheck to paycheck. Right? They're trying to live in this world and make ends meet, and they're finding it really difficult. Right? And it's no always their fault. But eventually you need somebody to blame. What you know what I'm like? There's a part of me says, what you should really try to do is become self-reliant. That's really, really important. Because for the simple reason, life is uncertain. Right? And if you might get ill, I had a stroke a couple of years ago. You might get no well, and if you can't meet your obligations, you lose your house or whatever. So you should try and become self-reliant. And one of the ways of doing that, and a lot of people don't do this, I believe this, don't spend money you've no got on shite you don't fucking need. You know what I mean? Get yourself into debt, because, modern slaves aren't in chains. They're in debt. They're in fucking debt. But everybody needs the big fancy motor, and everybody needs the big house. And all this, and don't get me wrong, it'd be lovely to have it. All this stuff, all the comforts. A big telly the size of a fucking wall. Brilliant. Because I'm blind as a bat and deaf as a post. Right. It was about delay gratification.
Aye.
If you try and become a bit more self-reliant so that you're no victim to some circumstances if things go against you.
Well, there's that famous experiment with the marshmallows and kids. Have you heard of that?
No.
So basically, I think it was Germany they done it, whereby they took 10 kids into a room and they put a marshmallow in each of their plates, and they said, right, you can have this marshmallow now, or you can wait 10 minutes and you can have 2 marshmallows. And some of the kids ate their marshmallow, and then the kids that decided to wait and get 2 marshmallows, they followed their progress all the way through school and university. And the ones that waited for the 2 marshmallows did better in their exams, went into more prosperous careers, were a lot more happier in life.
That's always my problem. I'm fucking... I'll eat anything that's put down to me. I mean...
You'd have battered them on other marshmallows.
Here's what I'm thinking. See, if I eat that now, and I know they've got more, I'll rob the marshmallow room. That's the thing. I mean, don't look at the man. Listen to the advice.
I'll rob a marshmallow room.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
But get back, do you not think the danger is, like, I've been that person where starting out in comedy and I was working part-time and literally every wage was just taking you out your overdraft and it was brutal. But do you not think the danger is that you're going to get people that are going to vote for reform that are in that space and genuinely think reform are going to help, which they're no, and I don't think any party will. And then other folk were just like, do you know what, I'm not even going to bother voting, and that's the problem.
You know, some people, through no fault of their own, sometimes you can't help the way they live, and some people do the wrong thing, and they're waiting for the Tories or Labour to save them. And you've got to, they're not going to save you. You've got to save yourself. So what you've effectively got, you've got a party system, a 2-party system. They're in the pockets of big business. If you look in the register of members' interests, they're all got fucking directorships and speaking fees for this, that and the next thing. They're fucking milking it, ripping the arse out of it. And they're doing what they fucking tell.
Yeah.
People becoming very cynical and go, oh, fuck them. They're all at it. If anybody truly believes that Farage and his mob are any different, they're fucking sniffing glue. If you really believe these arseholes are any different, then you're fucking on the poppers, mate.
I'll never agree with Nigel Farage, but he did say the Tories were done, and I think he's fucking right.
I think he's right. I mean, even a stop clock's right twice a fucking day. The simple fact of the matter is, the Tory party is fucked.
Aye.
Because it's so riven with right-wing, super entitled, bigoted pricks. It used to be the Tory party was the party really of the landed gentry in business, but there was a certain element of the old conservatism that it was a bit patronising, cared slightly for the working class. But if you look at history, I mean, successive Tory governments built a lot of council houses, but they accepted after the war, they accepted the post-war consensus. It wasn't until Margaret Thatcher came in and dismantled all that, and then it was every fucking man for himself. That's when it changed. And they've destroyed themselves with their greed. Ironically, the Labour Party had to become like the Tory Party, a load of greedy bastards, in order to get elected. And I suppose what I'm saying is, the parties that get elected really reflect the people that elect them.
Aye.
And that's a sad indictment on society of the day. And it's all about what you've got. I've got a big house, I've got a big motor, I've got this, I've got that. What have you got? Fuck you, I'm a king of the castle. We're a nation of Joneses, keeping up with the fucking Joneses. We hate, as a nation, to look down my street and go, fuck, that arsehole's got a new motor. His fucking wife's got a new tattoo. I want a new tattoo. Oh, he's... What's that arsehole doing with a Bully XL? I want a Bully XL. I want to eat my veins as well. Hey, whatever.
I think because obviously people know the Tory voters are swaying to reform, and then Labour voters are going to Greens, going to Lib Dems. Is it no better to have 5 or 6 parties rather than just the 2 though?
No, because then everybody gets what nobody wants. Well, the electoral system has to change. We've got a first-past-the-post electoral system in this country, which means it's individual constituencies. You need to get 326 constituencies to form a government. If you've got 6 parties, that under the Fixed Parliaments Act in the United Kingdom, what you'll find is that a party could probably form a government, even though they don't have a necessary majority, by forming alliances with other parties. Now, so what does that look like? Suppose reform get enough votes to form a minority government? Are they going to go in with the Tories? Are they going to have enough votes? Or who are they going to go? They're going to go to the Lib Dems. The Lib Dems going to sit and break bread with Reform? I fucking don't think so. Or the SNP. So you might get some of the mad Irish parties, you know, the DUP or the UUP, whatever they're called. I mean, are the Greens going to sit down with Farage? I don't think so. Then nothing gets done. And then I don't know how we would resolve that. If genuinely that started to happen, but we're seeing the death of the Conservative Party. We're definitely witnessing the death of the Tory Party.
So we're away to cast our vote, and that brings us to the end of this episode. Remember and subscribe where you're listening from. If you enjoyed us, tell your friends, but if you didn't,
fuck off.